Good afternoon and welcome everybody. I am Sean in Alaska. Let me know how the audio and video is. The video looks like it's pretty decent, but let me know how the audio is because I'm in the kitchen today, and we're in the kitchen because I had two options this week. I almost called this live off because I really wanted to brew a batch of beer, and then I thought, you know what, I got an outlet in the kitchen. I'll just move the laptop over here and we'll go live and you guys can brew a batch of beer with me. So yeah, let me know how the audio and the video is. I would greatly appreciate it. I do like to say hello to everybody. If you have a question and you think I have not answered it or I've already passed by it, do me a favor, leave it again in all capital letters. And if I've already answered it, when I get there, I'll just skip it over. It's not a big deal. It just draws it up to my attention. With that said, it's a little bit tinny. Yeah, that's because the kitchen's a bit tinny. I could probably open a window and eliminate that, but it's still 22 degrees outside, Jolie. Okay, let me get back up here to the top. This is it, MJH. Michael, how you doing, my friend? You're early. You are here. That is awesome. Linda at Lipstick Lodge. Hi from snowy Huntsville, Ontario, outside Algonquin Park. Awesome to have you here today. Sunshine and Kenai. I was over in your neck of the woods this morning. Welcome. Glad to have you here today. And as I said before, hello, Jolie. How are you doing today? It is awesome to see you. So I was a very avid brewer for many, many years, and I really want to get back into the hobby again because I enjoyed the heck out of it. I like big, I'm not a Bud, Coors, Miller kind of drinker. I like really big, full-bodied beers, and I got into this hobby before you could buy a lot of those, and I really enjoyed it because it's something that you can make, and you can have some friends over, you can fire up the grill, and you can kick back and have a beer that you made yourself. It's just that kind of stuff. Food and family go with me, hand in hand with me. It's just a super, super cool thing. So what I got set up here is I'm using as a base this Cooper's Australian Pale Ale. And to go with that base, I'm going to be adding 3 pounds of Golden Light DME. So this is dried malt extract DME. And then I've got, I don't know if I can pull this up so you can see what it looks like. See what that looks like in there? It kind of looks like powdered milk, right? That's actually just nothing more than dried milk extract. I'm going to be using for the fermenter, for the workhorse yeast for this. It's called Brewing 97, and it's an American West Coast ale yeast. And then the hops that I'm going to use, I'm going to do 2 additions of, and they are, this is what they are. They're pellet hops. Okay, so hops is a flour, and you could either use fresh hop petal flowers, or you could use pelletized hops, or you could even use liquid hops. But I like to use the pellets because they're super easy to deal with. And there'll be 2 additions of this. One for the boil, which will give you the bitterness on the back of the sweetness of the beer, and then one for the aroma at the very end. So that's that hoppy smell that you get. So I mean, beer is basically, in Germany, beer is only 4 things, right? It is water, it is yeast, it is malt, and it is hops. That is it. Nothing else can be added to. And they might have changed the law in Germany, but they had a law, the Rice Bolt Act or something like that, that said that that's all you could ever put in beer. I want this to be something I can reproduce because I got a ton of those Cooper's cans I got like for a steal, and I have a bunch more I can get from the guy for free because they're all older, and he used to be in that business of selling the stuff, and he doesn't anymore. So I have a notebook, right? I'm taking notes. And we're calling this one an Alaskan Pale Ale. So it's going to be a can of Cooper's, 3 pounds of the Breeze Golden Light DME, 2 ounces of Mosaic hops pellets for the bittering, 2 ounces of Mosaic hop pellets for the finishing. We'll do that in the last 5 minutes. And then the Brewing 97 American West Coast Ale yeast. I'm heating up water right now. Molly, watch out. Go. I'm heating up water in the pot right now because I don't want to add malt to cold water and then heat it up because it'll burn on the bottom of the pan. And then I've got the can of malt extract sitting over here in warm water. We'll turn that back on again and get that going. Get out of the kitchen. Get out. Go. Get. And then, yeah, we'll just have some fun with this stuff. Let me scroll back down here. G-Dog, welcome. Glad you can make it today. Karen, awesome to have you today. Audio's fine. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Renee, welcome. Ward, give me your number. Wants me to give you a call. It's probably about the solar stuff. So probably later on this week. It's not going to happen today. There's no way. When I get done here, we're going to be having a beer at the end of this as I'm finishing everything up, and then it'll be an early night for me, I'm sure. Ryan Tinder, how are you doing? All sounds good here from Fresno, California. Very cool, my friend. I kind of grew up in Sonora, California, so I know exactly where you're at. And they got hammered with a lot of snow and a big storm. There you are, Trondheim, Norway at 1:01 in the morning there. Holy smokes, you're up late or early, one or the other, or at work. I think you work nights. Angie, how are you doing? It is great to see you. Beamer and you checking in. Greatly appreciate it. No quarter. How you doing? Awesome, awesome, awesome to have you here. Yeah, Miss Molly behind me. I just don't want her. When I'm in the kitchen, she likes to get under my feet. Wisconsin FIB, how you doing? Excuse me, welcome, my friend. You enjoy a good brew. Very cool. Warren going in hot. What's happening, brother? Awesome to see you today. So again, like I said, I'll be jumping back and forth here, but I really enjoy this hobby. I've done a video on it. It's a super easy hobby to get into if you want to. If you jump on Facebook Marketplace, there's always people selling beer equipment because it is a little bit time consuming. It's a lot of waiting. And one of the things that if you're going to do this hobby that you really have to be conscientious of is sanitation. So any off bacterias can affect the fermentation of the beer. And then you get stuff that smells and tastes like bananas, and it's nasty, nasty, nasty. So what I'm using for sanitation today is this stuff here called One Step, and it's a no rinse. 1 tablespoon of this into a gallon of warm water. I don't need to sanitize my pot because it's going to be boiling, so that'll sanitize itself. But I do need to sanitize my fermenter here. So what I did was I just took a gallon of water, warmed it up, put a tablespoon of that in it. Then I poured it in here. We'll swish it around. I'll pop the lid on here. I got my stirring spoon in here right now. It's a no rinse solution, so you don't have to worry about what you're going to do. Once you take it off, you just let it do its thing. But yeah, it's a super easy hobby to do that can go completely sideways on you if you're not careful. So sanitation is really important. Quality ingredients are really important. And patience is probably the ultimate thing because it smells like heaven in here when I do this. And to me, anyway, a brewery. And then you have to wait. And in a colder cabin, sometimes my fermentation could take a little bit to get started. But once you get started and it gets rocking and rolling, I get all excited. You'll need bottles. I have bottles. You'll need caps. I have caps. And you'll need a bottle capper to seal the caps on top of the bottle. Then you have to wait again. You have to wait 4 to 6 weeks so that it'll naturally build up the fermentation inside the bottle. Unlike the big breweries, when they brew, they carbonate it as they bottle it so that they don't have to wait for carbon. That's why your stuff's all nice and clear. When this is done, you'll have an even smooth layer of dead yeast cells at the bottom of the bottle. So it's super, super good for you too because it's vitamin D. Let me scroll back up here again. I said hi to Warren and No Quarter. Wisconsin FIB, excuse me. Scott at Hester's Garage. What's happening, brother? It is awesome to see you today. Glad you can make it. Karen, getting an nor'easter tonight and tomorrow, blizzard warnings. Yeah, we're just cold weather. We got cold weather coming in this. Oh, I didn't start this. Let me get this going here. We got cold weather coming in this next week, but it looks like starting March, we're really going to be quite a bit warmer. And I got to wait for this to come around because I was chatting when it started. Sarge Fry, welcome. Awesome to have you here today. Trudy, welcome. Glad you can make it today. Barbara, welcome. Glad to see you as well. Oh, and I almost missed that, Scott. Thank you, brother. Very, very cool. You're helping to pay for the next batch of beer. I greatly appreciate that. That is super awesome, man. Thank you. I think I got everybody else up there. So you got Barbara. Oh, you made apple mash. Eventually I would love to have a still, and I'd love to make some nice single malt whiskey. So malted whiskeys are made from the same thing that beer is made from. So this whole first stage would be considered the mash. And if you're making, like I was at the point where I was brewing with real grains and not using these extracts. And once you get to that level, you're grinding your own grain, you're mashing your own grain, you're boiling it, which becomes the wort. And then you ferment it, becoming beer. Well, if at that point you would distill it and you're using single malts, oh, yeah, there's a whole story to it. I love it. I love it. Hobbies like this are a ton of fun, and they're traditional, right? So even though I was talking earlier about you have to be so critical with sanitation, you got to remember that beer's been around forever, and for the longest time, beer was safer to drink than water. in a lot of the European cities because the water was just absolutely disgusting and contaminated with all kinds of matter. And UC Davis did a bunch of different studies. I'm a beer nerd. UC Davis did a bunch of different studies, and one of the things they did was they took water from a duck pond that was absolutely disgusting and nasty, and they brewed a batch of beer from it. And when it was done, there was no parasites whatsoever in that water. There was all kinds when they started because they did the full study. What did the water look like before we started? And part of that is the boiling process that you're going to go through. And while water boils at 212 degrees, once you add the sugars to it, that temperature is actually higher because the sugars allow it to get higher and higher. So, super else right here. John, how you doing today? Awesome to see you. John from Southern Wisconsin. Laurel's YouTube, welcome. Glad to see you today. Wisconsin as well. Oh, you doing breakfast for dinner tonight? I was thinking about that. I don't know. I think I might just do a bowl of soup tonight. We'll see what happens. Charles and Annalyn, how are you doing today? What is my total investment in the equipment and the mix? I probably about every batch of beer right now probably costs me $50 to make. So that's $50 for 2 cases of beer. So $25 a case, which is much cheaper than quality beer when you buy it in the store here. So the equipment you can start off really easy. I have a bunch of these plastic totes. I have 3 of these, and I have a glass jug. I always tell people if you're going to start with this, start with the glass jug because you get to watch the clear glass jug. You get to watch all the actions happening. This thing will really take off. I'll post some short videos on the Facebook page for Sean in Alaska. And if you're not a member, that link's down below. This week as this thing is going forward because it's a ton of fun to watch. I mean, I can sit there and just watch it exploding and doing its thing as the yeast is feeding. So basically how this works is you make the wort, which is the malt in the water. You boil that together with the hops. Then I'm going to pour that into this container, top it off the rest of the way with water. I'm going to get a total of 6 gallons to start with. But I'm going to lose part of that in the transferring to the next fermentation vessel that'll allow everything to settle out so it's a nice, clear, pretty beer when it's done. And then, where's I going with that? Okay, so when you pitch the yeast in there, the sugars feed on the yeast, and the byproduct of that is carbon dioxide and alcohol, all right? So that's where the alcohol comes from in beer. I don't like really, I'm not a big drinker anymore. Like if I'm going to drink beer, I'm going to drink probably 2 a night at the most. And then these I bottled in 22-ounce bottles. So then I just have 1. It's super fun. It's super cool. The commercial beer we drink now would be considered and called a small beer 200 years ago due to the low ABV. Exactly. Except for beers like Guinness, which has always had a low alcohol volume. But it was designed, like a lot of the British beers were designed as session beers. So they were just sitting there just drinking them. They could drink 4 or 5 of them in a day and have, really no effect on them. They could have them with lunch. They'd drink them at work. IPAs became popular because the British would send these to India. So that's where the India Pale Ale came from. They would send these on ship because as part of the daily allotment for every British soldier and every British seaman, they were allowed a pint or 2 pints of ale. And the India Pale Ale, the IPA, the super hoppy stuff, came to existence because hops is a natural preservative. So it would preserve the beer until it got to where it was going. Originally, when beer was brewed, it was brewed with herbs and seasonings. It was the monks that were starting to brew it that decided that they were going to put hops in it. And the hops is what makes it last longer, preserves it much longer. I think I got your answer on that one. Oh, that's where I was going with the equipment. So yeah, you could start off. I mean, basically, you could probably find everything you need to brew beer on Facebook Marketplace. You can find it for $100. And then, if the bug bites you, you're going to be going down a rabbit hole where you'll spend a whole lot more money. I built most of my own equipment when I first started, so I didn't have to go that route. I didn't have to spend all that money on expensive equipment. You can spend 30 grand on home breweries, but I built most of my own stuff. Eric, what's happening, man? Awesome to see you. Hello to you as well. Janet, how are you doing? I'm doing this all on this screen, so that's why everybody's going to get up on the screen today, because that way I can see it. Jolie said, brewing in a kilt has been proven to improve the taste, just saying, right? We already talked about that. The kilt doesn't fit anymore. I've lost too much weight. I have to get a new one. I don't know about moonshine. I mean, you could do it. I know guys up here that actually do, but they make bourbon, and it's quality stuff. It's really nice. Linda says, I booked a hotel room last night. I checked the weather a lot. It's going down to -30 on March 6th. Ouch. Ugh. Yug, 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 yug. Okay, we're going to be chit-chatting back and forth while I'm doing this. So I got this heated up now, and I have my pan heated up. So we'll get that out of there. I'm going to need one of these. We'll get this thing going. All I have in the pot right now is a gallon of water, because I'm going to do the rest of the water in here. So Cooper's extracts, these are easy beers to make. If you go online, you can see a million videos on how to make it. And most of them are just a can of Cooper's and then a kilogram or about a pound and a half of Cooper's type 2, I forget what they call it, but it's basically just malt extract and yeast stuff, stuff to help the yeast grow. And then that's it. So they're all really lower alcohol beers. I love this smell. It's going to be a mess though. But I'm kind of souping this one up. So this is a hopped extract, which means there's already hops in here, but I want more hops because I'm a hop head. And I like the bitterness that hops gives to a beer. All right, let's put this in there. So this is liquid malt extract. And I'm using a thick bottom stainless steel pot to help avoid, scorching the malt on the bottom of the pan. Stir it up a bit, let it dissolve. Oh yeah. I love that smell. I love that smell. Give it a good stir until you're pretty sure that all of the liquid malt has dissolved in the water. And if you're gonna, if you think you might be interested in doing this hobby, this is probably not a bad way to start, because Cooper's is one of the companies that you could get stuff from, but there's 4 or 5 other companies out there that have some really interesting combinations and interesting flavors. So Cooper's makes probably 15 different types of beer that you can make, and it's super easy. It's something that anybody could do at home with basic kitchenware that they have. The only thing you would need would be a tub like this for your fermentation. So I got that in there. Now we're gonna add the dry malt extract. I'm just going to give this basically more malt and more sugar to feed on. There we go. Then we're going to stir it up until it all gets broken up. And I'll jump back on the comments there in a minute. I just want to make sure I got this all stirred together and ready to go. We don't start the time. You want to boil this for about an hour. I do. If you're following Cooper's directions, you don't. But for this beer, I'm trying to make, and I'll explain to you more about what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to make a higher quality beer than I would normally get from the Cooper's. Cooper's is fine, but I like a full-bodied, full mouthfeel beer. In order to do that, I need to give it a nice hour-long boil, and we're going to start that boil, or we'll start the timer when it actually starts the boil, and that's when I'll pitch the hops in. So I've made beer and I've made wine, and wine is super simple to make. So nature does all the work with wine. Nature does the grapes, you crush the grapes, you ferment the grapes, the juice that you get on that, depending on how long you leave them on the skin, depends on how deep the color will get. It's super, super simple to do, making wine at home. Beer is more of a science experiment. And I say that because you could tweak one ingredient on a batch of beer and end up with a completely different beer when it's done. Yeast is a huge, huge thing that will change the flavor of beer. When it ferments, it'll pick up different flavors just because of the strain of yeast that you used. Wine to some extent as well. All right, so we got that going. That's all mixed in. Shove these over to here. I'll keep the spoon handy. So the reason why I'm adding the DME to this is because if I brew this strictly according to Cooper's instructions, I'm going to have what I would consider, and most people would consider, a thin beer. So think Budweiser, Coors, Miller, something that you just, it's a hot day, you just slam that thing down. I want a more full-bodied, robust beer. In order to get that, I have to add this other sugar to it. And it's not sugar, it's sugars. There is, in this malt extract, the dry malt extract, the DME, there's different types of sugars that will add body and mouthfeel to it. Let me scroll back up here, see where I was at. Breakfast for dinner tonight. Said hi to Janet. There's Jolie's comment about wearing the kilt. Oh my camera doesn't get all foggy from the steam in the kitchen. Could be fighting that. Come on, get better. I picked up my hand. It's just not focusing in on me for a second here. Let me scroll back. Maybe, hang on, I might have a lighting issue. I mean, it picks the hand up absolutely fine, but it's not picking. There we go. Pick Sean up better a little bit when he gets in there. Okay, there's Linda. Charles Allen says, I can find most of the equipment on here on Shopee, your Amazon. Yeah, you can get all the equipment that you need off of Amazon, or there's a bunch of different brewing. If you're in the United States or Canada, there's a bunch of different brewing stores. I don't know what the laws are in Canada for brewing your own beer. I know when I started in the United States, you couldn't brew in all 50 states. You could in California, though. Joanne, welcome. Awesome to see you today. Glad you could make it. Joe, what's happening, brother? Great to see you. Hi, Sean. I made it. Currently snowing and expecting 10 to 12 inches. Also called into work as essential personnel. Oh, my gosh, dude. You're almost retired. The R word is in your future. The nicest a-hole you will ever meet. Peace, man. Love that name. Love it. I know, right? All this beer talk. Exactly. That's why I said I was either not going to go live today so I could brew this, or I was going to go live and brew it with you guys. But I do have to keep taking peeks over here to see what it's doing. It's pretty cool. I don't know how long my camera is here. Let's see if I can pull this over. I'm not going to get that close, I don't think. Yeah, see the foam on top of it there? That's the malt doing its thing, right? It's one of the biggest problems that you're ever going to have if you get into this hobby is boilovers. They're nasty. They're a mess. Exactly. Vitamin beer. Send me the family recipe for Sambuca. I love Sambuca, my friend. Oh, I love Sambuca. Scotty, what's up, dude? It is awesome. Scotty, it's Scotty's Backyard Barbecue. If you guys want to know how to grill anything, go check out Scotty's channel, because that man is a grilling machine, and he's retired. So, Scotty, I fully expect to see multiple videos from you. I'm brewing a batch of beer now live, Scotty. Joanne from Alabama, awesome. Jerry, good to see you, my friend. Awesome to have you here today. Jay, how are you doing? Hey, Sean, see you around the middle of July. Very cool. Wild Mountain Rose, how are you? Great to see you today. Good links in my Nourishing Traditions playlist. Hello from way off their grid in Supernatural, BC. Canada. What a great hockey game, huh? What a great hockey game today. United States and Canada in the final for the gold medal round in the Winter Olympics. And I don't really watch the Olympics, but I'm a hockey fan. And it had to go to overtime to get a winner. That was a great game. I know there's a lot of Canadians that were upset about that, but to go to overtime and the gold medal, come on, guys. That's pretty incredible. That is pretty incredible. Right? Malt it up. Malt is too hot. Texas Butterfly, how are you? Great to see you. Hi, Sean. Got on late. Cool East Texas today. Got my wood stove on our porch. Sit back and relax. Nice, nice. All right, let me take a peek over here. Molly, watch out. I don't want to step on you, girl. So when it comes to the yeast that we're going to add to this, we don't add that until the very end, until everything's done and everything's all mixed together. With this yeast, I've got 100 milliliters of water set up here. I'll open the package, I'll put it in there, I'll stir it, and I'll let it set for roughly 5 minutes. The outside of this dry instant yeast has a coating on it to keep it protected. So that's why you pre-soak it and let it sit in the water to begin with. It's just to dissolve that outside so that the yeast can go right to work. Beautiful. Give it another stir. When I went down this rabbit hole, there were not very many microbreweries that were available, and it was funny because it started for me when a buddy and I were checking out. We're both avid readers. We're checking out the used or the old book section, discount book section at a bookstore, and in that discount book section was what I consider the Bible of home brewing, and that's the Joy of Home Brewing by Papazian. And you could learn the entire art of doing this thing on there. It was incredible. So I went down and started. We were doing it just to brew. My dad had a bakery and he had buckets of malt, so we were just using that. We were trying to make beer because we were just young guys just out of high school. Probably 20. I might have been 19 or 20, trying to find a way to do cheap drunks. And I went down the path of I know I can make this better. And then I took an all grain class at another place, and it was just for me it was so much fun. It was crazy. I saw that Scotty, his grandson did a hat trick in hockey today. Very cool. Ward, what's up, brother? Good to see you today. T-Bricks down the road, welcome. Oh, is this Trish? Awesome to see you. Very cool. You jumped in. You never forget a hat trick. That's super cool. Yeah, so Scotty's mentioned another kit here that I've done, and I did that with Brother Will, and that's what kind of got me back into this again. So they make this kit from a company called Mr. Beer. It's super simple. You don't have to go through 90% of the BS that I go through to brew. And they have what they call carbonation drops. You put those in the bottle, and as they dissolve, with the beer, as they dissolve, they feed the beer more sugar to give you the carbonation in the beer when you're done. So if you think that you might want to do this, that might be a super cheap way to get into it, is to buy a little Mr. Beer kit. It comes with the bottles and everything. You get into it for less than $100, I think. And you just have to have your own pots and stuff here in the kitchen. And it's a smaller batch of beer, but it's a super easy way to get into it. And the varieties are crazy. I mean, I've got my phone. Let me pull it up real quick, and I'll tell you just the Mr. Beer stuff. And this is a departure from what we normally do on the lives. I know that, but let me look it up here. Mr. Beer. And I'll tell you how much it would cost you to get into it right off the bat here. Let's go to complete home brewing kits. So you could do the 2-gallon complete kits, the Cooper DIY 5-gallon complete kit, or the Mr. Beer root beer kit. So you can make your own soda this way too. We'll go to the 2-gallon complete kits. Where are we at here? I thought we were good there. Shop all 2 gallons. We'll look at craft refills. Man, Mr. Beer's website is not really coming up very good. Shop by. So let's pull up their craft refill IPA. Their kit for 2 gallons of IPA is $22.64. That's just the beer. We're going to go to 2-gallon kits. Their website is really terrible. Oh, there we go. Okay, so their American Lager starter beer making kit to make an American Lager is $42.46 right now on sale. The kit with the bottles and everything. I mean, everything you need to brew your first batch of beer is $51. So, and that's a 2-gallon batch that includes bottles, everything you need. See if they got anything that's really expensive. They got IPAs, Northwest Pale, Bewitched Amber, Northwest Pale. Well, I lost it. It just kept flipping around on me. But yeah, it's a super cheap hobby to get into. Norm, welcome. Aloha, my friend. Awesome to have you here today. Whipple One, what's up, dude? It's been a minute. Thank you, my friend. I'm feeling healthy. I'm feeling very good. I love a good stout or a good porter. I'm a dark beer guy. Yeah, I like a good stout, a good porter, a nice brown ale, or just a nasty hoppy IPA. I love IPAs, man. I'm a huge IPA guy. I'm going to brew this batch of beer. I'm going to get it all done, and then I'm going to have a nice barbecue outside, and I'm going to fill up my Alaska tankard with homemade beer. I do like porter wort. Yep, they do. Barbara, thank you for popping in. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next week. I'm also super excited because today is the absolute first day. We've had all this sunshine for the last couple of days. The absolute first day that my entire solar system is naturally back up to 100%. I have not run that generator in like 3 weeks now, 3 or 4 weeks. It's absolutely crazy. The only time I ran the generator was to fire up the chop saw just so I'd have the amps. The only thing that could screw this up is if I ran out of propane outside, but I think I'm okay. Oh, we're getting close. I just have to keep an eye on it when I get to that initial boil, because that's when it likes to boil over, and that's when the proteins like to shoot over the top. Oh, that smells divine. If you're brewing from all grain, like I did in the past, then your wort, which is what this is now called, it's the hot water and malt and everything in there except for the hops. And when the hops are in there, it's still called wort, W-O-R-T. When you're brewing from scratch, 100% scratch in all grain brew, you're brewing 5 gallons. You're boiling 5 gallons at a time. So that would be the reason why I own that, so that I could, in fact, I don't know if it's marked in here or not, so that I can, in fact, do 5-gallon batches all at once. But when you're in that level, the trick is you want to get the temperature down cool enough to pitch the yeast as soon as possible, because once it starts feeding on the yeast, it builds up a cloud of CO2 above the beer and then protects the beer, acts like a seal so that no weird bacteria can get in there. Beer it's not going to ever it's never going to kill you if you brew it wrong, but it can be a nasty, nasty taste. Oh, I didn't even say this down here. We'll get there again in a second. There's Scotty. Everybody, hi. Barbara had to go. I do love my porter, my friend. Ever have San Miguel from the Philippines? I love San Miguel. San Miguel's a good beer. Brook Trout, good evening, my friend. Awesome to see you from chilly Southwest Florida. There's something different. All right, I'm going to do this real quick because it frustrates me. I'm going to hide that, then I'm going to show it again so that I can say sunrise was at 8:23 a.m., sunsets at 6:13 p.m. for a total of 9 hours and 50 minutes of daylight. We've gained 33 minutes of daylight this last week. The low temperature in Funny River this morning was 10 below zero, roughly, somewhere in there. And our high today is 26. So yeah, we're not done with it yet. You're catching a buzz watching this. Dude, there's no alcohol involved yet. Don't get under my feet. We're going to have this happen 5 times tonight. Okay? Roll it down. I'll get your pillow ready on the couch for you, okay? Come on. I hate that, man. When I step on her, when I step back because I didn't know she was there, it makes me feel bad. So you could do this hobby, like I said, with a bunch of different kitchen stuff. But then when you get down the road a little further, you're going to say to yourself, well, how much alcohol is in that beer that I'm making right now? And for that, I have this science fiction-y kind of thing right here. And this really science fiction-y thing kind of here. This is called a hydrometer. And this hydrometer will float in the beer when I'm done, before I put the yeast in it. And it will tell me what the specific gravity of this mix is. And then it will give me also on here, this is a triple scale, it will also give me the potential alcohol if it ferments all the way down. So for me, I don't, like I said, I'm not really interested in having a high octane, high alcohol beer. That's not why I brew beer. I brew beer for the flavor, but it also helps to see how much alcohol I have in there when it's done. Come on, boil, butter, boil. And we'll do that here when we get to the end. Like I said, this thing's probably going to go longer than an hour today, because we're already at half an hour and I'm not even at a boil yet. Wort says, went to PI and lost 22 pounds drinking San Miguel. 42 thumbs up, 53 in the chat. Come on. We can do better than that. 55 in the chat. Sometimes the thumbs up lags behind it, though, too. It is safer. And I mentioned that earlier, that, beer became one of those drinks that everybody drank because the water was undrinkable in the area that they lived. Wort, it was like a nickel a beer. I lost weight on the beer of the month to leave there. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Pillow back off again. You don't want the pillow? I'll give you that one. I'll give you that. You're a good girl. You're a good girl, Miss Molly. It's kind of cool that I can do this in the kitchen. It's nice having the outlets and everything in here. It's super awesome. Next week's video is a discussion on how I weathered through the winter. My first winter completely off grid with all the batteries. It's not my first winter off grid, but this was the first year that I had, a full winter with a refrigerator, with the battery system and everything else. And I think there's some stuff in there that'll probably amaze some people. I know there's stuff in there that amazed me. Oh, Norm, thank you, man. Greatly appreciated. Super cool. We'll call this the beer fund. Anything I make from this video is going to go into a batch of beer. That's awesome. That is very cool. And at the same time, folks, if you got any questions for me about Alaska or about anything like that, by all means, go ahead and ask, because I'm more than happy to answer it. Molly, out of the kitchen. Go, out of the kitchen. You might have to I would put up a wall of death here, but I don't think it'll work. All right, getting ready to start. I can tell. Starting to break up a bit here. So hops, I already discussed that, hops is what is used in bittering and finishing, but I should probably go a little bit deeper. So the bitterness that you taste when you drink a beer, if it's an IPA and you taste it like right back in here, they a lot of times describe that as a grapefruit kind of flavor on an IPA. That's the bitterness of the hops. And that's just to add to the overall, you won't get any aroma or anything out of that hops because you boil the bejesus out of it. And that's what we're going to do with this bittering hops. The finishing hops is in there just long enough to break it down and volatilize the oils a little bit so that you'll smell that floral bouquet of the hops. And I'm using, a lot of times in a lot of beer recipes I've done in the past, you could have 4 or 5 different types of hops in there. But I'm just using a single hop this time, and it's Mosaic, and it's one of my favorite hops for beers. It's just incredible. Traditionally, an IPA, a West Coast IPA, which is like Sierra Nevada, a pale ale here in the States, traditionally that hop or that beer would be hopped with Cascade. Turn that water off for a second. I've got a nice little foam up there, and I don't want it going over the top. I should warn you that the other thing about brewing your own beer at home is, if you get hit with boiling water, it's one thing. It's not, it hurts, it burns. But if you get burned with liquid wort, this stuff, it sticks to your skin and it will really burn the heck out of you. There we go. I think I got that just before it was going to be a problem. All right, so I'm going to take the first edition of hops. This is 2 ounces. This is a 4-ounce package. I got 2 ounces in here. This will be our bittering hops. We're going to pour that right in. And then we'll stir that up, and now the kitchen begins to smell like beer. Oh my gosh, that is just divine. All right. I want a nice rolling boil here, but I don't want to get too carried away. I'll be back to the chat here in a second. I just want to make sure things don't get away from me here. Because if they're going to get away, this is the point where they're going to get away. I'm going to start that timer. We'll call it 25 minutes till. And I'm going to stay live until I go from here to here, but you guys don't have to hang out for the whole thing. If you got other stuff to do, I completely understand, but I just thought it'd be cool to share this. Oh, yeah. Nice. Jump back up here. Number 1, Germans in the 16th century considered beer to be bred in a bottle. They valued beer so much they originated the first food purity laws to safeguard it. Yes, they did. And that was that beer could only, and I said this before, but we've got some more folks in here. Beer in Germany could only consist of 4 things: water, hops, malted barley, and yeast. That was it. You can only put those 4 ingredients in there and call it beer. If they had anything else in there, you could not call it beer. Oh yeah, that's going nice now. That's going nice. Right, Ward? I'll have beer at my house for you, and you could definitely come over and try some. I drink Malbec, red wine, but I do like a dark beer. Can you brew a good dark beer? So I have a stout recipe that I wanted to do, but I figured I'd play with this one first, because an IPA, a pale ale in general, or an India pale ale, is a relatively easy beer to brew. The darker beers take a little more finesse when you're doing them, just to get the flavor profile and the flavor balance right. So the next one that I do will more than likely be the stout, if this rolls the way I think it's going to. I love very, very dark beer. Very dark beer. Right? Guinness, same way. I love Guinness. Absolutely. Right? You think we can have smell-o-vision? Someday. I hope I'm alive to see it. Wine is another thing, Renee, that's super easy to make. And I bought most of this stuff. I bought everything I bought since I've been up here, except for the Coopers, came from Arctic Brewing Supply in Anchorage. I drove up through a snowstorm to get the stuff I needed when I was brewing the last batch of beer that I made, which is last winter. Well, I haven't even done a batch of beer since last winter. And Arctic Brewing Supply has wine kits too, so you can buy the basics to make your own wine. Like I said, I've made beer, I've made wine, and I've made mead. And mead is, the King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table and Vikings and stuff like that. It's fermented honey. And there's a bunch of different stuff that you can do with that to give it different profiles and different flavors. And mead, there's a guy on TikTok that has a ton of different kits that he sells, where he's brewing 1-gallon batches at a time, which is, to me, a super cool way to do it, because you could have 4 or 5 different flavored meads going at the same time. Oh yeah. I'm not going to lie, it's beautiful. I'm happy. So far, we'll see what happens. Stir it up a little bit. I'm getting a good rolling boil in the center of the pot. which is doing most of the mixing for me. But I'll come back every once in a while and just kind of make sure that all that froth that's on top gets mixed back in so that we can extract as much flavor as possible from it. So yeah, wine kits exist and they're super simple to do. All right, Mr. A-Hole, peace y'all. Get some firewood to split before the sun sets and carnivores come out. Head on swivel. Awesome. Have yourself a great day, my friend. Thanks for popping in. Right, John? Sunday fun day. Sunday. Wine for cooking? No. You never cook with wine that you wouldn't drink by itself, because every chef will tell you that if you wouldn't drink that wine by itself, you probably shouldn't be adding it to your food. Seems like brewing equipment can get expensive. It can. It depends on which rabbit hole you want to go down. You can still, there's still a ton of forums out there that you can, I call them forums still, but groups that you can join that'll teach you how to make a lot of this stuff yourself for a lot less money than you can buy it for. But it depends on how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole, right? How far down that hole do you want to go on whether or not you're going, do you want to open a brewery? Well, it's going to cost you a lot of money to get your experience, right? To get where you need to be, to get to the point where you are a confident enough beer maker to do that. I at one time had really wanted to open one. I thought that would be a ton of fun to have. Now I think if I ever retire, I'll just see if I can go to work for the local brewery. They're really expensive. But like any hobby that you're going to do, how much do you love it? Hobbies are something that you do because you enjoy doing them. Ice makes cheap beer drinkable. When I was a kid growing up, my parents were both born in the 40s. So when we were kids in the 70s, it was nothing to see, mom reach over, grab some ice and put it in her beer, because she didn't drink it that fast, so she wanted it to stay cold. They also used to put salt in their beer. So if the carbonation kind of seemed like it was dying down, they'd sprinkle some salt on it and it would react with the beer and make it foam back up again. It is, right? So yeah, brewing's not about, you will save money if you get to the point where you get good at it and you're doing, full grain batches of beer. You'll do it a lot cheaper. You'll have great beer for a lot less than you pay for it. But when you think about your time that you have invested in it, it's more of a passion than it is, to save money. It's something that you're doing on a regular basis because you love it. I like making beer. I love making bread. I love baking. I love the cheese part. I really want to get back into cheese big time. I need to find a decent source for good milk. I would love to have a brick oven, a Tuscan wood-fired oven that I could bake some of this stuff in. I would like to make as much as I possibly can for myself, because I'm telling you that the feeling that it gives me to sit around a table with friends on a summer evening and drink beer that I made and have bread that I made dipped in olive oil with vegetables laying around the table that I grew, maybe slices of cheese up that I made. That's heaven to me. That is absolutely heaven to me. Josh, you made it. Welcome, my friend. Awesome to see you today. So what we're doing today, for anybody who's just joined in, is I wanted to brew beer today, and it was either brew beer and skip today's live or just go live and brew beer with you guys. So I'm brewing beer with you guys. We are brewing an Alaskan Pale Ale, and I'll give you some ideas here if you're going to get into this and you want to be able to reproduce it. I spoke about the hydrometer. It will register the specific gravity of the beer before it ferments. I'm going to put that original gravity and potential alcohol right here, and then the final gravity, so that I know you can take the final gravity and subtract it. So as the beer ferments, the sugars dissolve, the beer becomes thinner, so the specific gravity goes down. So you could subtract the high gravity or the low gravity from the high gravity and find out how much alcohol your beer has by volume. And so if you're going to do this, take notes, take a lot of notes, because you'll kick yourself in the head if you brew the best batch of beer you have ever tasted, but your notes were bad and you can't reproduce it. It will drive you insane. Trust me, I've done that. Yeah, this is rocking and rolling. Well, I might be able to pull this camera up right now and let you see what we got going on. I saw we had a bit of a view the last time I did this. You know what? I could do something even better here. Hang on. A long cord on this. So let's show you what's happening in there in the pot right now. All right, it looks very, very dark, right? But remember, I'm going to add it looks super, super dark, but I'm going to add, 5 gallons of water to that when it's done. So it's really going to change the color. It's really going to thin the color out on it. Right? Yeah. Angie says fireweed makes killer wine and mead. I would like to do that. That would be a fun thing to do. Wort, it's going to take 2 weeks to ferment out probably, and then goes into the bottle in 2 weeks, and then 4 weeks after that, I'd probably taste the first one. I do the big bottles for me. That's what I want to drink, but I always do small bottles so that I can taste them and test them and see ready at the carbonation level they need to be. So probably 6 weeks from now, I'll be able to taste the first one. Brooktrout, thanks, man. Awesome to have you here today. Great, great, great to have you here, and have a safe week yourself. On early ocean voyages, they brought beer to stay hydrated instead of water. It will keep you hydrated. Those were a lot lower alcohol beers, though, too, I think. I don't think the alcohol level was anywhere near what it... Probably one of the best things that happened in my lifetime is, the reviving of home brewing, and then craft brewing coming back into the scene again. Because when I was a kid growing up, it was Olympia, Bud, Coors, Hams. It was mega breweries, and you were just, there wasn't really much of a difference between any beer unless you were getting European beers. And then when the craft brewing started back up again in the United States, what was super cool was you had a million different flavors. Every brewery's, we like this brewery did this and this brewery did that. One of the things that's happened to a lot of these micro breweries, and that's what I call them, or brew houses, is that they all jumped on the same bandwagons at the same time. So everybody was brewing 5 different IPAs, or everybody was brewing hazy everything, or everybody was brewing, bitter everything. Everybody's brewing sour everything. And a lot of the uniqueness from that industry seemed to vanish. Well, one of the things that was super cool, I was talking to Doug, the owner at Kenai River Brewing Company, when I was in there on Valentine's for my prime rib dinner. It was freaking awesome. It was delicious. I was so full when I left. He's getting back into more of the one-time batches. So, they have their core brews that they always have. And then, maybe they'll have 2 beers on tap that when they run out, they're out. And then they'll do another one, and they'll do it. Well, they just came out with one they call it Public Radio Porter. And it was a porter brewed for KDLL, which is a station I was a disc jockey on. I had my own show on there every Thursday night, and that porter was one of the finest porters I have tasted in years. My favorite porter was Anchor Brewing Company out of California. Anchor Steam Beer. Steam beer is really the only true American style beer, and Europe had nothing like it. Nothing like that existed anywhere until it came to the United States. And it got the name steam because when they would break open a cask, it would hiss like steam coming out of it. So it's a ale. It's an ale. It's a lager fermented at ale temperature. So it's got a whole different profile. Well, they've since closed. You cannot remain in San Francisco and do business because it's so expensive. You can't. There's so many hoops to jump through. It's just crazy. But they had 4 beers. They had Anchor Steam. They had Liberty Ale, which was a pale ale. They had 5 beers. They had Anchor Stout, Anchor Porter. Anchor Porter was heaven on earth. And they used to do a Christmas beer that was phenomenal. And all the breweries used to do a Christmas beer too. All the small breweries that bottled and used to do beers, used to do Christmas beers. And everything that you got was in 22-ounce bottles until they all started becoming uniform. And they put a dent in, the beer sales of of Budweiser and Coors. And, a lot of people switched to that type of a beer. But then they got crazy and it seemed like they just started upping the alcohol content in them. And I don't drink that beer to get drunk. I drink it for the flavor. and make a beer on your own at home. You can focus on the flavor. Carolyn, how are you? Hey, Sean. Hey, from East Texas. Sorry I missed most of your live. I fell asleep waiting to rewatch after live. Carolyn, I think we got a lot more to go here. Yeah, I'm going to be on for a while. So yeah, you can hang out now, or you can go back and you can watch it all later. But this will be one of my longer ones, I think, today. Excuse me says, driving through Boston Bar now. I need 2 hands on the wheel. A brew just in time for St. Patrick's Day. I don't think so. I should have done this a couple of weeks ago if I wanted it ready for St. Patrick's Day. Like I said, so St. Patrick's Day is like 4 weeks away. It would have been fun to have my own beer for that, but that's fine. I'll grab something from the local ones that I drink now is from. I still go to Kenai River Brewing Company. I still like their beer, but I've been buying these. You know what? I got an empty 12-pack thing right here. So these are Denali Brewing Company. Okay, and I buy these 12-packs because they have 3 of their single engine red. Which is a red ale. They have 3 of the mother ale, which is a blonde ale. They have 3 of their Twister Creek IPAs, and then this Chuli Stout, which is absolutely delicious. So I've been buying 12 packs of these, and it's like $22 for 12 of them. So I'm going to make a 12-pack I'm going to make 4 12-packs for $50, so I can buy them for 22. But I've been buying these because I get a nice variety from a good local Alaskan beer. And I call it local Alaskan beers. It's just brewed here. All the ingredients come from outside. Warren says, well, in the Coast Guard, we would be issued 2 beers a week while underway, right? So that's a carryover from the British sailing days. That is very cool to see. I didn't know they still did that. That is super cool that the Coast Guard and the Navy have traditions that are just incredible. No Quarter says, it's amazing how simple change like changing the strain of yeast will completely change the profile of a beer. It definitely will. It definitely will. And when you add, the hops will also change the profile of a beer. When you add the hops, the type of hops that you use, they even do this thing like they call dry hopping, where, and I've done it, and it works, where you will, everything will be in the fermenter. Everything will be going, and you throw a handful of hops in there, or you throw a measured amount of hops into your batch when it's done. So it will not boil at all. It will just pick up the floral notes of hops. And hops are incredible. They used to sew them into pillows, a little sachet of them. They used to put in pillows so that when you slept at night, you would sleep more sound. And that doesn't make sense until you realize that hops are in the same family of plant as cannabis sativa. So Sean's Trailer Ale, so cold it'll make you want to build a cabin. I freaking love that, Josh. Oh my gosh, I love that. I need to take pictures of that. That is awesome. I need to take a picture of my screen right now. Because for me to go back and find that'll be tough. That is super cool, dude. Thank you. I might use that. I would like to print up some labels and have it look all fancy. I used to do that in the past, but I don't have a printer anymore. I don't know if I want to get back into that again. So we're still boiling away over here. It's doing its thing. It's got a bunch of foam on top. We'll go ahead and mix that back in again. A lot of the foam, yeah, that swirled up, didn't it? A lot of the foam that you'll see on the top of the beer while you're boiling it is proteins. And one of the reasons why I said we're brewing 6 gallons, but when we're done, we'll have 5 gallons of beer, is because the first fermentation is very, very aggressive. And part of what's happening during that fermentation, besides the fact that, the yeast is feeding on the sugars and creating the CO2 and the alcohol, but it's also helping to coagulate a lot of the proteins that are in the beer, and they'll drop out. So at the bottom of this container here, see where that water line is right there? On this first fermentation, because I do a primary, which will be the first one, and a secondary, which will clear everything out. On this first fermentation, I'm probably going to lose that much out of the bottom of, beer and solid stuff that falls out of the beer after it sits there and does its thing. And then when I do the secondary fermentation, I will transfer it one more time, probably back into this container, because it has a spigot on the bottom, to bottle it all out. And then I'll be leaving maybe 1/4 of an inch on the bottom, and that'll be almost pure yeast. Budweiser was a good beer back in the day when it was Beechwood aged. Yeah, they don't. A lot of these mega corporations get to the point where if they can save 1 penny or 1/2 penny or 1/4 of a penny on something, it means millions of dollars on their bottom line when they're done. Yeah, Norm, that is. That's this bucket will actually hold. So I have the lines marked on the side. I hit a Sharpie over the edge of it here. I was really interested in liters because this will be 23 liters, and this is also 6 gallons right here. So this is probably 6 gallons, 7 gallons, 8 gallons all the way to the top. But right, I'm going to have 6 gallons in there, and then when this beer is going crazy and fermenting, it'll build up a foam on it that'll go almost to the top of that barrel when it's done. There we go. Oh, you have a printer? I'll take it, man. If you're bringing it up, definitely I'll take it. Never used? I'd have to figure out how to hook them up again. Then I got to buy cardstock. I'll print labels on my beer. I will. There's a bunch of different stuff that I've done that I would love to have labels on. Beer is one, wine is another. I used to make up fancy labels for all that stuff and put them on bottles. But I make some dry rubs for barbecuing that would really be cool in little containers with a nice little label on it. And when I get to that point where I want to put some labels on some stuff, I'll probably give you guys a shout out and let you see what my plans are, what I'm thinking about, and then you guys can let me know what I need to add or remove, you know, what draws your eye to it. You'll be my test audience. How's that sound? God, I love this stuff. I love it. Okay, so what else do I need to talk about? So this container needs to be covered. Let's move this up here. And to accomplish that, it comes with a lid, and it comes with this right here on the top. So I will put on here, I will shove this in the top here, push it down tight. I'll take it out of here again in a second. And this has a cap on it. It's got a little cup and a cap. And this is called an airlock bubbler. So this little cup here, right, goes in, and it's got, I don't know if you can see this or not. See the little holes it's got around the bottom? So you pop that in there, right? And then you put the cap on the top. That's important because once this thing starts rocking and rolling and fermenting, it puts out a lot of CO2. And then the CO2 pushes all the oxygen out. And every time that goes up to a certain point, it basically like burps. And then it gets to a point where there's no more oxygen in the barrel. It's just CO2, a layer of CO2 sitting on there because it has pushed out all of the oxygen that was in there. And it just keeps the beer protected. But yeah, that's called an airlock bubbler. Take that and put it back in the barrel. A little bit of my sanitizer on top of that, because that's about the only thing I really didn't sanitize yet. Like I said, it's a super fun hobby. When I was married, my ex-wife, when I get into the brewing mood, she just loved it. You know, she's like, geez, look at this guy. He's going freaking nuts in his in the kitchen. And when I was done, I just cleaned. Everything would be immaculate when I was finished. Well, I can pick that up. I can get that locally. I know I can because I just saw some today. Norm says, this could be more iconic for me. I no longer consume alcohol, but I still have all the fond memories, at least the ones that I can remember, right? And you know, some people just don't drink anymore, and that's fine for everybody. My brother didn't drink for 10 years. I didn't drink for 2 years. Here, while I lived in Alaska for 2 years, I didn't have a beer. It was, you know, just a choice at the time. I needed to lose some weight, and then I didn't really want any. And, you know, for me, I used to stop at the brewery every Friday, have a couple of beers and go home. But it got to the point where if I'd have those couple of beers, I'd get home and do nothing. So I just kind of stopped drinking beer on Fridays because I couldn't. I'd come home and the entire day would be wasted. But yeah, I understand that completely, man. But even like you drink soda pop probably still, and this whole process is very similar to what it's like to make your own soda. So if you want to make your own ginger ale, your own root beer, your own cola, your own cream soda, I used to make all of those things for my kids. And I used to keep a little keg on tap in the refrigerator for them. And they'd come home from school and they'd go down and they'd tap their own little sodas. It was super neat, man. It was a super fun. I firmly believe that people don't have enough hobbies, or not enough people have hobbies anymore. And hobbies are neat because they keep traditions alive. So gardening, if you're an avid gardener, you are keeping traditions alive that the next generation could learn from. If you're a baker at home, you're keeping traditions alive that the next, that's what this whole thing's about. It keeps traditions alive that everybody can learn from. Yeah, root beer, a good root beer. Yeah, the brewery makes an awesome root beer too, which is super. And when I was a kid growing up, one of my favorite things to do was when we used to go up to the mountains before we moved up there, we'd go to this old town called Columbia. And Columbia was it's a state park run by the state of California, and everybody would dress up in period outfits and that kind of stuff. And it was an old West town. And we'd go there, and one of the local establishments, a bar, had sarsaparilla. And I love sarsaparilla. Sarsaparilla is delicious. Oh, good. You have local root beer there. Very awesome. Very nice. It's so much better. Oh, it's so much better than the stuff you buy in the cans. My dad, when we were kids growing up, was a mug root beer guy. This is doing its thing. So the Cooper's can that I got, the instructions for that are completely different than what I'm doing right now. So basically, the Cooper's tells you, see if I got the label there. I'll read it off. So you peel the label off the can. Right, there's the can, and you peel the label off, and the instructions for brewing that are on the inside of the label. For the Cooper's, you mix the can contents with 2 liters of water. You add the recommended ingredients, whatever those would be. You top with cold or hot water to 23 liters to get a brew temperature between 70 and 80 degrees, because the yeast needs the warmer temperature to work. And then you pitch the yeast in it. Right? So it doesn't call for boiling at all. When you boil a beer like this, even the Cooper's, you're going to elevate the flavor and the profile of the beer when it's done. You want to leave the beer to ferment. It says an original gravity at 1038. Mine's going to be much higher because I added the extra 3 pounds of DME, of the light DME. You're going to leave the brew to ferment after 6 days at 70 degrees, which is part of my problem. It's always colder than that here in the cabin, so it takes a little longer for mine to ferment. You're going to check the specific gravity reading. You're going to repeat that process, and the reading has to stay steady over 2 days, because once it stays steady over a couple of days, you know it's done. It's not going to ferment. There will be sugar that remains in the beer when it's done. That's why if you ever spill the beer on the table and then you come back or you walk across it on the floor out on your patio or something and your feet stick, because the beer has sugar in it that doesn't ferment. You're ready to bottle at that point, and then you're going to fill the bottles. You're going to prime them with 2 of the Cooper's carbonation drops. I don't use that. I use an actual sugar, an actual priming sugar that I pour into the entire batch of beer, stir it up, and then it will feed on that and ferment naturally on that. I don't use the drops. They have the drops for the Mr. Beer kits as well. And then 2 Cooper's carbonation drops per 750 milliliter bottle or 740 milliliter bottle. You store the bottles upright at 65 degrees for at least 14 days to allow for that last fermentation that's going to give you the carbonation in the beer. The neat thing is that the instructions on Cooper's are in English, Russian, Italian, French, Finnish, all kinds of different languages. So they sell them all over the world, which is super neat. Very nice. Mahana brews it root beer. Oh, very cool. Very nice. All right, for anybody who's joined in late, basically it was either Sean brews beer and doesn't go live today because I really wanted to brew a batch of beer, and Sunday's like the best day for me to do it, or Sean goes live and brews a batch of beer with you guys. So that's what we're doing today. We're in the kitchen. I got the laptop over here. My solar's at 100% all the way around. Every battery's at 100% now because we've had glorious sunshine, and we're just hanging out and brewing a batch of beer. So hang out as long as you want. If you have questions about me, what I'm doing, Alaska in general, and I can answer them, by all means, ask them in the chat. We're not going to hold everything to, brewing beer questions. But this was a passion of mine for quite a few years, and I'm trying to get back into it again. So I'm pretty passionate about it. We're about 20 minutes away from this being done. But 5 minutes before it's finished, I'm going to take the other 2 ounces of these hop pellets, and I'm going to put those in there. I'm going to let it go for 5 minutes, and you're going to smell. That's what you're going to smell when you pop open the beer and you pour it in a glass and you get that first whiff. That's the hops that you're going to get. That's where that smell comes from. Low hop beers, generally dark beers are much lower hopped, and they're more malty. Lighter beers, brown ales, amber beers, in the United States anyway, always have that little hoppy note. Some of them are very pronounced and some of them are slightly pronounced. So I agree, Norm. I completely agree. Right, Angie? Single Engine Red's a great beer, man. That's a great beer. The blonde, the blonde ale, that Mother's one, is a nice, mellow, very yummy beer. But that Chuli Stout's delicious. I don't know if they make a brown ale or not, but I'd love to go check out their brewery. It's the Denali Brewing Company, and they're out of Talkeetna. So they actually have a place they open up during the summer up there with live music and an outdoor brew fest. And it's a ton of fun. Neat place. No, but we went yesterday. So my project for this weekend, and it's not in the video for next week. Man, I've been hitting my brakes as I go into town and really hearing a grinding on the front. And I'm like, okay, I need a brake job on the truck. And I kind of knew I had a problem because the rim on the driver's side had a lot of dust and stuff building up on it. And I knew it was coming from brakes. So I called the local garage when I have a problem I take the truck to, and they wanted like $600 just to replace the brakes. And it's to replace the brakes on that truck, you replace the brakes, you replace the rotors. And then if I needed calipers on it, which is the device that pushes the pressure on the brake pads, if I needed to replace the calipers, that was going to cost me almost $1,000. And I said, you know what? I can do this. I'm just going to do it myself. So yesterday, I picked up all the parts on Friday. So yesterday, Molly and myself drove over to Todd's, and Todd's my neighbor that's helped in a ton of videos. And I changed the brakes in my truck, and I let Todd talk me out of buying the calipers. I should have just bought them because I did the first wheel on the passenger side. Fine, no problem at all. Calipers were in great shape. Disc was in pretty good shape. I still had like half my pads left on that one, but I was already had it apart. So I said, forget it. I'll just replace everything. So then I went over to the driver's side, and sure enough, the calipers were bad. They have boots on them. And the way that they work is they've got these like two oval boots that will apply even pressure. When you hit the brakes, they push the brake pads in, and they cause the brake pads to stop the wheel from spinning. Well, they have these boots on them that, they go in and out. They have a boot on them to stop garbage and junk from going in and out, but the boots were destroyed completely on this thing. So it was going in, and it was full of so much junk, it was catching it, wouldn't come all the way back. There was zero brake pad left on that, and that rotor was just chewed to pieces. So Todd gave me a ride back into town. I went and did it at his place because he's got all the tools, and he's a mechanic, so he knows what's going on. If I had any questions, I could ask him. So we go into town. I picked up the new caliper, bring it back out. I put that on there, got the brakes on there. truck drives absolutely perfect now. Got it up to about 40 miles an hour on a straightaway. Took my hands off the wheel and hit the brakes, and it stopped in a straight line. No pull left, no pull right. I was really happy with it. But the dogs, Yukon and Blaze and Molly, were all three playing like mad. So when I got done, I came home and I dropped Molly off, and I said I'm going to go to town and get an ice cream. You guys all know me. If you know me long enough, watch me long enough, you know that I love ice cream. So I went and got a scoop of ice cream, and then I grabbed a burger, and then I came home. And when I got home, Molly was dead to the world on the couch, right? And Todd sends me a text, and he's all, neither of my dogs have moved since you guys left. So they ran each other ragged. It was a good day, and I got a lot done. And the total cost for me to replace both sets of brakes on the front and the one caliper on the front was like $350. That would have cost me almost $1,000 if I put it in the shop. So yeah, anytime you can do that kind of stuff yourself, it's always worth doing it. Oh, this is gonna be good. Can't wait to pour one of these out for you guys when I grill a nice cheeseburger, or maybe a nice steak outside. We are 15 minutes, almost 50. Yeah, we're 15 minutes away from the last top edition. Right? That's why I call him King Todd. He's freaking awesome, man. He's a great guy. Yeah, it's nice when you have somebody like that close by, because he has every tool in the world, right? I mean, he's got so many. I mean, he could open a shop. He really could. He's got everything there. So I get in there and I jack it up and I go, hey, you got a torque wrench? He goes, oh, yeah. So he pulls out this gorgeous freaking torque wrench, man. It was absolutely beautiful. And so I torqued everything down to the right specifications. He goes, what's the torque on that? And thank God for Dr. Google, because I just pulled it up on Google. Hey, what do I torque the lug nuts to on my 2013 F-150 truck? Boom, 150 foot-pounds. Perfect. But yeah, he's got it all. It's super nice. We're talking about you. Yes, we were talking about you. Yes, we were. Good girl. It's a good girl. Put this down a little bit here. You guys can say hi to Molly. We're talking about you. You want some puppy loves? It's a good girl. It's a good puppies. What do you do? Good girl. You good puppies. What time is it? Oh, I know why you're here. You want dinner? Ready to eat? Let me get Molly fed real quick. I realize it was this time already. Come on, let's go eat. Come on, I'll get you dinner. Oh. Come on, let's go. Come on, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are you going? Come on. What do you do? What does Molly do? Sit. Stay there. Go ahead. Good girl. Good girl. Get the puppy all fed. She eats twice a day. I feed her once in the morning before I leave for work, and then I feed her in the evening. I don't leave food out there for her to just graze on all day long. I completely agree. I've had a cool cat once in my life. My ex-wife, when she left the cat, and the cat turned out to be pretty darn cool. But yeah, dogs always. She needed dinner. She got dinner. Right? I agree. Blueberry Vog, I agree. Speaking of which, I think Sean needs something too. So if Angie's still here, she does glass etching, and she made me these. See that? Sean in Alaska? See that? Moose on the side? We'll just reach into the box here and we'll pull out a magical beer and find out which one it is. Yep, looks like we're having a Chuli Stout. I usually drink on my lives, but I'm brewing, so I'll have one. That's pretty, huh? Look at that. That's gorgeous. Bloody gorgeous. One of the things I realized once I started brewing beer too was that I drink less beer when I brew my own because I don't want to run out. Taste test. Yeah, almost no hop nose on this at all. Nice, just a nice malty flavor. About 10 minutes away from things getting real busy here. Lay down. You want some water? Let me hook her up with some water real quick. Come on, let's go. Need some water. Come on. Go. There you go, Mom. Get your water. You're all hooked up. Come on. I should have looked at that. Let me tell you what this does inside too. So my humidity downstairs right now, 50% humidity in the kitchen. Let's see, shall we? It's freaking awesome. Thanks, Ange. I love them. I absolutely love them. When I pulled them out when Ashley was up, she's all, where did you get these? I told her you made them for me. Very cool. Ward, see you, man. Awesome to see you. Renee needs to get to cleaning. Very awesome. Very awesome. Okay, so what's coming up next with this is I'm going to add the finishing hops. We're going to let it go for about 5 more minutes on the boil. And at that point, I need to dump the water that's in here out. I've got the big pot down here on the floor. I'll dump that into here. It's a no-rinse sanitizer, so I don't have to worry about rinsing it out. It only uses oxygen. And I thought that was pretty cool because I used to use this stuff called iodophor before, which is an iodine-based cleaner. You had to rinse all that stuff. So this is cleans with oxygen, does not contain chlorine, bisulfates, organic compounds, or phosphates. So super safe to use. Just don't let it get your eyes because you'll have issues then. So I'll take that, dump it out. At that point, we'll put a couple of gallons of water in here. We'll take that, we'll dump it in, stir it up a little bit, pour the rest of the water in until we get to our 6-gallon mark. Add the airlock bubbler when I get ready to close it. But before that, I'll have to pitch the yeast and stir the yeast in there. Before that, though, we're going to take some out. We're going to put it in this flask, and then I'll take the specific gravity reading on it so that I know where it's at, so that I know when it stops. If you don't do that, if you don't care what the alcohol is in there, but you don't do that step to begin with, you just have to let it go a little bit longer when it's in its fermentation stage so that you're sure that everything's fermented all the way out. So, I mean, I know guys who never use that at all. They just go by feel. They kind of know when the beer is ready, and they never really have a problem. Madhunanda, how are you? It is great to see you. Glad you can make it today. We're going a little late this afternoon because I'm brewing a batch of beer. So that's kind of what we're doing while we're live. We feed our dogs twice a day, plus every time you eat. Molly doesn't really get snacks from me. She did get some prime rib at Christmas. I gave her a little bit of prime rib. Yeah, that's a sin, Angie. They call that party foul for a reason. That's a sin. We got to get together at the brewery and have a beer, especially now that Fred's been promoted. We have to get Fred after work, maybe on a Friday, because he's usually there. Is he there on Fridays? He wasn't there this Friday, but if he's there on a Friday, I'll have to give you a shout, and I'll take him over to the brewery. We'll buy him a couple of beers for congratulations for his promotion. Exactly. That's why Sean kept the stash and goat. No waste any beer. It never gets down here, man. It just gets caught up in here. It does, Norm. Beer makes life slow down a bit. It makes it nice. The puppy's right behind me. She's right here on the floor. Here, let me do this. There she is. Molly, say hi. Say hello, Molly. Say hello. She's helping me brew a batch of beer. Probably done with this banner. Let's get rid of that for now too. Awesome. Yeah, it's 4:25 in the afternoon here in beautiful industrial downtown Funny River, Alaska, and the sun is out and it's absolutely gorgeous. But like I said, we're gonna be a bit chilly coming up here. Our temperature right now is 28, so that's pretty awesome. But we're looking at going below zero again starting Wednesday. We're going to be 9 below. Thursday will be 13 below. Friday we're going to be 6 below. But then we start to move back up again, and I think this is pretty much the end of it. Our high temperature for the week looks like it's going to be tomorrow, and it's going to be 32 degrees with a low of 22, which is beautiful. And then solar wise, I'm not pulling in a whole lot of power right now, but that is because my batteries are pretty much all at 100%. Yeah, right? Boom. All 4 of my batteries are at 100% right now, which is super cool. Norm says, I did a double-fisted shaka on that one. Nice. Awesome. I think he's off on Fridays. Okay, you can pick him up. Perfect. That'll work too. I don't know his schedule. He said he's going to play around with his schedule to find out what works best, and then he'll settle into that routine. He's doing a great job, though, man. He's so awesome. It's so awesome to have him. I mean, technically he's my boss, but everybody always leaves me alone anyway. But it's awesome to have him in that spot because it's already making a huge difference. It's amazing to me how the personality, and this is for everybody here, not just Angie, but it's amazing to me how the personality of one person in charge can either destroy the morale of an entire crew or build an entire group of people up. And there's not enough of that nowadays. There's not enough of the good folks nowadays. Okay, so since I got a 5-minute break on this, we're going to take the yeast out now. And we'll get that hydrating. We pour that in, and we'll give it a little stir. Get it all saturated up. I keep the yeast in the refrigerator. I keep the hops in the freezer. There is all the yeast that you need for 5 gallons worth of beer, or to inoculate 5 gallons worth of beer. So let's get this cleaned off right now. And then we can go ahead and pitch the final 2 ounces of mosaic hops in here. I so love that smell. Stir that up first before I do that. Watch out, Mom. Move. Go. Go, 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 go. I'm really happy I didn't get a boil over on this. So we pour those hops in. They're done. We're going to give this about 5 more minutes. And this is where you'll honestly start to pick up the aroma that your finished beer will have. And now I can get this. This container. Definitely, Angie. I'll talk to him when I see him tomorrow. And I'll let him know. What's happening, man? Alaska Critter Crab? Great to see you. Excuse me. Finally caught one of your live streams. That's because we're like a half an hour over our normal time. I'm just brewing a batch of beer, and it was either brew a batch of beer and not go live, or brew a batch of beer on the live. So that's what we're doing today. We are live in the kitchen. Thank you. So I don't have a well. Obviously, this is a dry cabin. I had to pick these up today, and they were $1.92 a gallon. It's crazy. They were actually cheaper than the Walmart bottle, Crystal Geyser. When you're brewing, you don't have to brew with bottled water. You can brew with tap water, but if your water is fluoridated or chlorinated, then you want to take all the water that you're going to need off the tap the day before, and then just leave it in a bucket with the lid off, and that naturally all those chlorine and fluorine will actually evaporate off the top of the water, and then you use that water the next day. Not because those things are bad for you. I think most of them are, but mainly because it affects the yeast. So when you go to pitch the yeast in your beer, if those things are in there, it'll kill the yeast. So that's why you really got to watch out for it. So I just threw 2 gallons of water in here right now, and I've got 3 more to go. So that we don't have an absolute heat shock in the container. And when I pour it in there, it'll start to dilute it, and it'll make it easier when I mix it all up. Heather, how are you? It is awesome to see you. Sexy to watch. I'm a sexy man in the kitchen. I'm most at home when I'm in the kitchen, I think. I am most at home when I'm in the kitchen. I absolutely love it. You showed up a little bit late. I'll let you know what we're doing right now. I'm brewing a batch of beer. So I'm making what we're calling Alaskan Pale Ale. I'm going to have to tweak the title on that because, we don't want Alaskan Brewing Company to come after me because my beer is better. It will be. But yeah, I'm brewing a batch of beer. I wanted to brew a batch of beer. And for you guys in here, you've heard it 5 times. I wanted to brew a batch of beer today. So that meant I probably wasn't going to go live. And then I thought I'll just go live and brew a batch of beer with you guys while I'm live. And then I'm sipping one too from Denali Brewing Company. This is their Truly Stout. I love the kitchen. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, Molly out. Go. We are turning off the heat on this bad boy. So now the big key when you're brewing beer is you want to get that temperature down as quick as you possibly can. If you're doing this all 5 gallons on top of the stove, it becomes very challenging to get that temperature down. You almost have to have what is called a wort chiller. But I don't have running water, so I couldn't use that. It's a heat exchanger. So that's kind of why I'm doing it the way I am. So I've got 2 gallons of cool water in here. And then we have this stuff. that's going to go right into that. Do not get this on you. Because if you do, you will burn the heck out of yourself. There is nothing worse. Look at that. See all this stuff that's left over on the sides of the pot? Those are all proteins that broke down while you were brewing the batch of beer. Get that all cleaned up. So right now we are at just a little over 3 gallons. You figure I started with a gallon of water in that pot, and then I added the 1.5 liter tub of malt, and then I added 3 pounds of golden DME. So at this point, me pouring the water in here like I am is a good thing for the yeast, because yeast not only needs sugar to work, it also needs oxygen. So I'm aerating this right now by pouring this in here. Right. I'll have enough water left over to do dishes. I like it. All right. Then we'll take this up to 23 liters or 6 gallons. Just a little more than 6 gallons. Nice. That is beautiful. Okay. Then we'll grab our wonderful spoon and stir that whole thing together. I need it to be all incorporated together because I'm going to take a specific gravity reading on it so that I know what I'm working with to begin with. Oh, it's really a good smelling ale. Okay. Then we'll move the camera down here a little bit. We will thief out what we need. Okay. That, don't you get that? Again, this is a hydrometer. It measures the specific gravity of liquids. The specific gravity of water is 0. So everything is based on that as your start point. The original recipe said that the specific gravity that I was looking at is supposed to be 1038. This has also got to be adjusted for temperature. That's my temperature adjustment over here. And it comes with instruction sheets on there. I think I've got. Where is my temperature gauge? Might be on my desk. Yeah, move. Go. I thought I had it right over here. I don't. Shame on me. I did not think about that before I got this started. Right now I'm looking at there we go. looking at about 1040, 44, about 1045 for my original gravity. And I'll do a calculation. About 5.5% alcohol by volume if everything ferments out on it. Man, I know I had that temperature gauge. What in the world did I do with it? I had an Insta-read thermometer. I don't know where I put it. Okay, well, we're just gonna go with that. It's still, I don't know, I think it's pretty close. So here's one of my favorite parts. Get out of there. Put that in the can, I'll clean it off when I'm done. Is at this point, nice. I like the hops in that. I like the hops in that. All right, I can pour that back in there even though it was tasted by me. And then the final thing we do here, pitch the yeast in. We give it one last stir to get that yeast doing all of its thing. And if you're too hot at this point, there's not much you can do other than let it cool down before you add that yeast, because you don't want to kill that yeast. Close that up. Then I'm going to grab a lid. And we'll do that water that I had in there. I just poured into that pot on the ground. Come on. There we go. I don't know if you can see, the light's kind of blocking it. There we go. That is it. And now nature will do its part. Everything from this point forward is out of my control until we get to bottling. So. Well, thanks, Norm. Appreciate it, man. Exactly. That lid keeps the bacteria out. So as the CO2 starts to build in there, it'll off gas, it'll push those gases, it'll push the oxygen out to begin with. So you'll get an occasional blurp, blurp, blurp. And then when it's really rocking and rolling, that thing is going blurp, 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 blurp. What I'll probably end up doing is laying a towel around it here. Because last time I did this on the counter, it kind of blew up. And I don't want, and luckily I had it in a water heater tray, you know, the tray that goes under your water heater, an overflow tray. So I don't want that issue to happen. But yeah, that was fun. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, I think that's probably going to wrap it up for us. If anybody has any more questions, now's the time to ask. This live looks like it's going to go for about 2 hours total. But I'm more than happy to answer anything now, or if you've watched this live this far after the fact, because I do leave the lives up on the channel, and you got questions, by all means, reach out to me. I can be reached via the YouTube channel. My email address is down below in the About part, or the Facebook page. That link is down below this video, or down below any of my videos. And I try to post more on the Facebook page, but I haven't done that much on it. Norm, at first the cabin smells all nice, like malty goodness. It's just so, and then when you add those hops, especially when you add the second batch of hops, it smells like a beautifully fresh brewery. It's awesome. It's a great smell. I love it. But yeah, other than that, I guess we'll give it about 5 more minutes here. Like I said, if you got any more questions, by all means, feel free to ask. Next week, we'll just be back on our regular thing, our regular live deal, and we'll take a peek in on the beer. I'll go ahead and I'll post on the community tab as the fermentation starts to take off, so you guys can see it. And then this is either a success or a failure, and we'll know I'll know in a couple of days, but I'll really know in about 6 weeks when, in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks when I bottle it. I'll taste it then again too. Renee, thank you. Awesome to have you here today. Hey, no problem, Wisconsin, definitely. Right? Yum beer. I want you to think of this, Heather, right? A fresh beer on a nice piece of warm sourdough, or with a nice piece of warm sourdough, and some fresh homemade cheese on top of that sourdough. That's about as good as it gets, I think, right there. That is not bad at all. Aloha to you as well, Norm. Awesome to have you here. Hey, Wild Mountain Roast, not a problem at all. It's a fun hobby. I would like to also, I'm going to play around a bit in the kitchen here over the next month or two, I think, because we got cold weather, and maybe on one of the lives, I'll just bake an apple pie or something. I'll show you how I make peanut butter cookies. I don't know. We'll just have fun with it. Now that I know that I can get the whole laptop in here and make this thing work, yeah, that would be a ton of fun. Have a good evening. Beamer and I might be out light hunting tonight, so time for a nap, going to the beach. Very cool. Yeah, the Northern Lights are going crazy, I guess, last night again, but I'm in bed. Even on my day off, I'm in bed by 8 o'clock. I wake up in the morning and I look at the pictures everybody took. You're doing bees this year again. Let's do some mead, definitely. Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. I forget what the name of it. There's different names. So there's mead, there's melomel. I think melomel is the one that has, it's fermented honey and fruit. And I did one with fermented honey and raspberries, fresh raspberries. And it was, oh my God, it was delicious. It was so yummy. And it was a still wine when it was done. So there was no carbonation, but yeah, it was yummy. All right, I could keep that back up. Do a little bit of pot cleaning here. It's kind of nice looking at the bottom of this pot and realizing that there is nothing burnt on the bottom of it, which means no off flavors from that. Nasty. I'm gonna lose this. This scrubber sponge is gonna be toast when I'm done, I'm sure of it. Love this pot. This is my cheese making pot. Heck yeah, we'll give it a shot. Definitely, Angie. You got fireweed juice. I'll make mead with it. We'll have a ton of fun with that. Very cool. All right, I'm going to get out of here, folks. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. Thanks for the constant support. Thanks for watching the videos, the thumbs up, the suggestions, the comments. They keep me going, and I truly, truly enjoy it. With that said, I am Sean in Alaska, and I'm out of here. I got to clean the rest of this kitchen up now because it's a mess, and I don't want to start the week with a dirty kitchen. Talk to you guys later. Thanks, as always.